Hello everyone, my name is TheMadScorpyon and welcome to another reset update for Destiny 2 on the week of January 21st. Now officially getting into it, it was very close until the start of Heresy. There was an event that just started similar to Ribbon's Wishes that gives people access to some very limited edition and very powerful items in some case, but in regards to the week at large, there's a few more things going around. Iron Banner is in its second of the weeks currently available right now, which means that after this one, he'll be gone and he won't be back until sometime in the next episode. So if you want to grind that out, you have limited time to do so. But in regards to everything else, there was actually a patch that was short enough that I feel like I can go through it right now. So on the front page, they fixed the issue with the seasonal events where Aramis and Mithrax were not in their conclusion state after the story. In Onslaught Salvation, they fixed an issue where you would disappear a turret if you were on it while teleported to allies. The Tomb of Contest and Elders basically fixed an issue where the servitor would sometimes flicker while judging the players. Kel's Fall, they fixed an issue where only one player would receive progression towards the Slayer's Fang exotic catalyst when destroying illusionary anchors, which, full disclosure, you could just done it yourself, maybe. Might have just avoided that whole issue in the outright. But then they also fixed an issue where the Slayer's Fang catalyst quest would not properly progress when defeating combatants. Into the Crucible, they fixed an issue with maps regarding a Crucible map of Dead Cliffs, where landing zones for both teams were not up to date for control or zone control game modes. Then they also fixed an issue where the heavy ammo crates would spawn in a non-neutral zone in Dead Cliffs. For Dungeons and Raids, they fixed an issue with Vesper's Host and Master difficulty where champions could get stuck outside of the lockdown room and not teleport in. For gameplay and investment for Triumphs and Titles, they reduced the number of Revenant Barons and defenses required for the Baron Ground and Defender of the Innocent Triumphs respectively, fixed an issue where the Scorgan Melodies Triumph sometimes didn't track played melodies, and they fixed an issue where the number of seasonal challenges required for the Reborn Triumph was higher than intended. For platforms and systems, fixed an issue where the Kel's Fall exotic mission required PlayStation Plus subscriptions, and in general, they fixed an issue where the Doki Doki ornament set was not properly displayed in corrections. So on that note, getting into the rest of the world, we do have an active booster currently going on for double Crucible ranks. In addition to that, I do believe it was going last week, so it's a very good time to grind out your Crucible in total, but aside from that, it is time to get into the rest of the world at large. Now, some of you might have remembered a few weeks ago it was Liminality and was swapped to something far easier to grind, as well as the weapon. Well, it is back around to Liminality currently. It is the Liminality strike for one of the last weeks of the season, which again, if you're looking for the completion, this is one that is going to be difficult for those of you not used to a strike like Liminality in terms of more challenge and more mechanics than just straight up sit there and shoot through the tough bad guys. But at the same respect, the weapon currently available is the Slammer Sword, which in respect, I don't know if it's essentially worth going after. Again, it is one of the ones that is unique because it has access to Eager Edge, but then again, the Halo swords from 30th Anniversary already had that, and as much as Stasis and I think access to something like Cold Steel, in the end, it is a sword, and aside from a few select encounters like Crota and that one Herald of Finality and Salvation's Edge, I don't know many other places where a very good sword is exactly strictly recommended, as opposed to it's an option. So in the end of the day, if it's worth going through it and grinding it, that's up to you. Personally, I just don't think so. Now, before going into Crucible, I just want to remind folks, as the episode rolls over, there's a fair number of weapons and active rotations for things like strikes, or specifically Nightfalls, the Crucible, the Iron Banner. There's an array of a few weapons that are the oldest in rotation, at least oldest in terms of when they were added, that will rotate out and something else will usually take its place, whether it is something restored or something brand new. So if there's something in any of the current active activities right now, in terms of Iron Banner, Crucible, strikes, playlists, anything more ritual style, I would get what you want while you can, because otherwise, it'll disappear and it'll be a little bit more expensive and in some cases impossible to earn, thinking of a variety of adepts in Grandmaster Nightfalls. However, going into Crucible, as well as talking about the Iron Banner currently is Fortress Control, which, if you don't recall, is basically control but a little bit of Cabal sprinkled in, with an occasional high-value zone when a few AI enemies that are just present in the field. Regardless, it is pretty much control, just play it as you can, and a little bit of high-value targets. And then with that, at the same time with normal Crucible, there is standard Clash for 6v6 quick play if you're not feeling the banner. In terms of 3v3, there is the usual competitive as well as elimination, and then Rumble as the usual for the Crucible folks. Moving into our weekly featured activities, there is some classic Destiny 1 reprised areas that are currently available. Starting off with our raids, we have the Vault of Glass and the Crota's End reprised raids. Now, in respect for the Vault of Glass, it is access to Master Mode, there is Adepts, there is armor focusing you can do. However, there isn't any red border craftables you can earn, so that is pretty much the one downside. You'd mainly be doing this for access to the Adepts, but also there is the access to Vex Mythoclast and the infinite attempts at earning that fabled exotic. So in respects, it is almost perfect in terms of a farming raid. The only thing it is literally missing out on is access to deep sight weapons in case you wanted to source some and make your own. But that same issue is not present for Crota's End, because it is new enough that it has both, again, Master Mode, armor focusing. It does have an exotic that I believe is more quest-based with a slight tinge of randomness, but the weapons are craftable in addition to being able to get access to adept versions that you can double enhance. So for both of them, I would recommend going after for a little bit in case you're looking for some good loot. Both raids have excellent weaponry to offer, whether it is something like Corrective Measure, the machine gun from Vault of Glass, or something like Swordbreaker for a punch build in the Crota's End raid. There is a variety of options you can definitely aim for. And speaking of dungeons, there is also a variety of themes going on because we have the Warlord's Ruin as well as the Grasp of Avarice. Which Warlord's Ruin, it is still current, and at the same time, this does mean the Master Mode is available, so if you missed out on the Buried Bloodlines Catalyst, that is once again available. However, both respect, there is no deep sight weapons to farm out, just the good rolls of unique weapons, and at that same point, it can be a little bit annoying. But again, because it is featured, you can kind of hit it as many times as you wish, so that is always an option. Then with the Grasp of Avarice, again, similarly so, there is no drop exotic that is a random mode. There is a Master Mode that I would say is the better to Artifice farm if you're looking for specific things. However, if you're looking for specific armor, for whatever odd reason, it is honestly pick or choose, because in that respect, there is no real difference to me. Then, wrapping it all up with our weekly activities, there is the Starcross mission for our weekly featured exotic mission, which I imagine drops the respective weapons from that season, which I think was Season of the Wish, officially. However, I just don't know because I pretty much wrapped that season up myself, so I wouldn't know what you get out of this aside from the exotic itself. Keep that in mind in case you're looking to farm this one out. The exotic is the Strand Bow that I forget the name of, Wishkeeper, I just remembered it, but at the same time, I don't know if there's anything else worth going for except maybe just wrapping up Wishkeeper and its varied exotic catalysts. Now, keeping up with the raids, I'm going to go over what is available for the variety of master modes in terms of armor focusing. Starting with the Vault of Glass, we do get strength-focused armor from the old Vex raid, recovery-focused armor from the Crota's End Hive raid, as well with Salvation's Edge and the all the above enemies, we have intellect-focused for there. Now, keeping with the raid challenges, Salvation's Edge does have the Scenic Route challenge, still don't know what that does, however. And Crota's End, because it is featured, the challenge modes are once again active and infinitely farmable, so you can do as many times as you so wish. But keep in mind as well, with Crota's End, this is the only time that challenge modes are active, period. For whatever reason, Crota's End is bugged and not rewarding you when they're not featured, so just keep that attuned. With Root of Nightmares, it is the All Hands, aka Nezarec challenge. King's Fall is the Gaze Amaze, aka Golgoroth challenge. I almost called him Nekoroth. The Vow of the Disciple is Swift Destruction, aka First Encounter Abomination. Vault of Glass being also featured, again, infinitely farmable, all available at all times. The Deepstone Crypt is of all trades, aka Nuclear Descent, Third Encounter. Garnet's Salvation is the Leftovers, which I believe is the first Harpy encounter. And the Last Wish is the Forever Fight, which I think is the Ogre. I almost called him Melgoroth. That doesn't sound right, but regardless, that is your available raid challenges. And wrapping it all up with Dares of Eternity Expert Rotation, we have Hive, Vex, and Valis Ta'auric for those modes. Now, this is where I'd usually go over the next week of seasonal challenges, but it does seem to be a constant that we're only getting 15 weeks while we are in episodes. So at current, if you have not completed any, or if you are still looking for more to complete, there won't be any additional ones. So if you're looking to finish out the maximum, complete all challenges and episodes Revenant, you just have the 15 weeks to go through as options. There won't be any more until next episode when these will all reset, and I imagine we'll get another fresh 15 for a variety of options. Moving into the Eververse store, again, the episode will end soon, just as a reminder, so anything in the seasonal tab that is currently available for silver, a lot of it will disappear and will be available at random for Bright Dust at random intervals. And just make sure that you get what you want, because it could be quite a while until it is added into the archive like a lot of other past seasons, and it also is entirely random chance what can appear in the Eververse store. Just keep that again in mind. But moving into the main store itself for Bright Dust options, first is Growing Guilt, which I believe is greenish white. It does remind me of the old Reveille shaders, but also a little bit off color, a little bit weird. Then as well, we have Colopetra, or Colopetra. However you say it, it is a bit of an earth tone, brownish red, orangish, which is not half bad looking officially. Then next we have a Transmat, which is basically one of the old blue rarity Transmats, just recolored and renamed, as is Bungie's tune with Transmat effects. The bug catching emote from Season of the Risen, as a reference to the fact that we were dealing with lots of bugs and moths for our first run through of the Witch Queen campaign, but it just kind of ends there. You don't catch the moth or anything, and you leave it alone. The next is Wanderer's Wagon, which is a sparrow, which for once loaded very quickly, which I think is kind of Drifter themed, or at least kind of Drifter-esque in its idea, all the way back from Season 15. Not bad looking, but there's definitely worse ones you can go for. Then into the main store in Flares, Transmats, and Shaders, we have the Royal Welcome from Season of Opulence, which was a weird one that, if I recall, is kind of like the armor from Season of the Opulence's raid, the old Galron raid, but at the same time, it doesn't look that great from directly on, more from the awkward eye. Next is Circadian Chill, which I started to take a kin to because it looks very good with a variety of dragon armor. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But a nice white and blue matte tone. At least I think that's how it's officially referred to. It's a little bit shiny, but it's not crazy in any way. It's straight up white and blue and no weird mixes of random things. But speaking of mix of random things, we have Neopop Wave, which is basically just a dark teal and a bright hot pink. And a variety of just Damascus kind of wave forms, which kind of used to hurt my eyes, but at the same time doesn't anymore, seemingly. And another weird one in Butter Bark, where your armor actually looks like it's made of bark in a weird way, and also looks like it would give you diabetes in a weird way. But next in Transmats, we have the Fallen Arrival, all the way back from the vanilla of Destiny 1, where you pop out of an Ether servitor. The Reef Oracle entrance, which is basically popping out of just weird reef effects. And the Swirling Leaf entrance, it's literally a recolor of that Transmat I just looked at, made green. Then for our main ticket items, we have the Disciples Judgment emote. In case you ever saw somebody standing around my rock, this is that emote where you started by basically just yeeting the heck out of a little dummy and yeeting it anywhere and just standing like Rolk. Next is the Robot Dance, all the way back from its 30th anniversary, which per the usual is a dance, so if you know the reference and want it, go ahead, but in the end it's a dance, so why even care? Next is the Firebreak Shell, which is back from Season of the Splicer, which it is a nifty little one that's kind of looks like it's supposed to be Firefighter in a weird way, but it also looks like it's a ghost ready to have a absolute firefight as opposed to a fire, well, you know what I mean. It looks like it's about to get into shootout as opposed to fighting flames. Next is the Daito White Rabbit from this season, which is a very clean looking ship as a part of the old Daito Jade Rabbit kind of looking set. Very clean, and it looks like it would be very expensive compared to other ships, not gonna lie. The Dread Rover, which is from this season as well. I think this is supposed to be kind of an homage to the variety of moon and lunar, or the whatever the word is, but the variety of NASA craft that just kind of explore various planets that we can't access just yet because humans can't get there. And then one of the last ones, the Occupational Hazard, which is a kind of nice, sleeker gold ornament for the Icebreaker. It makes it look a little bit more finished, as I believe Icebreaker in lore is still technically a prototype. In regards, though, it is a very sleek looking ornament. I think I'll just keep it as base, but I'll still pick it up just in case one day a flight of fancy hits me. And least as last, as always, the Tobe Beans projection. And with all of that, that is the end of the reset update. Keep in mind, this event is rewarding, but it is only going until the end of Revenant, which is pretty much right around the corner. I believe only 2 weeks away from the official start of Heresy, which at that point we'll have more to do, but less exclusive items available. So with that, I recommend getting into those bento boxes in the past Is Prologue event, I think it's officially called. But with that, my name is TheMadScorpyon, and I will see you in the next video.